A foreign female journalist risked her life to enter the Sihang warehouse. The camera captured the real appearance of the attacking soldiers covered in wounds and holding their guns in defense. He was determined to make these precious images known to the world. To make the whole world see China clearly and still resist China. They did not fall. Meanwhile, the anti-Japanese enthusiasm within the concessions was completely ignited. The scene of compatriots anonymously donating supplies moved everyone to tears. Some donated grain and medicine. Some brought clothes and quilts. A writer quietly donated his wife's beloved gold bracelet. Get close to all frontline supporters. These foods and items, full of deep affection and anticipation, repeatedly shot into the warehouse window with a slingshot. The defenders held it in their hands, looking at their compatriots on the opposite bank. Silent for a long time, eyes brimming with tears. Behind her is her country and home. In life she was the Japanese invaders. They could only die, only by holding out to the end. Could they not betray the trust and sacrifice of their compatriots? At that moment, Commander Xi Jingyuan suddenly received an urgent military order. The Brussels conference was about to convene, and the High Command ordered the Sihang warehouse garrison, at all costs, hold out for another 2 days. The international community needs it to see with your own eyes. The Chinese army continued to fiercely resist China, never giving up its territory. Looking at the exhausted body, but the soldiers with resolute eyes made Commander Xi a shocking decision that shocked everyone. Tomorrow morning, it will rise on the rooftop of the Sihang warehouse. The flag of the Republic of China, everyone knew this in their hearts. Once the front flag was raised, this was the most blatant humiliation of the Japanese army, which would surely enrage them completely. Japanese invaders, the other side will definitely negotiate without regard to cost. They launched devastating attacks, even going so far as to violate loan rules by using heavy artillery to bombard. By then, the warehouse would not be able to hold out for 2 days. It probably wouldn't last even 2 hours. But Commander Xi Jingyuan, his gaze was like a torch, his tone resolute, a national flag fluttering in the wind. Better to hold out for 2 days, more powerful, more able to tell the whole world. The Chinese have never knelt, and never will.
If you go up, you can chase after them, and watch like a dam. And yet he still dares to curse his mother in his own place. He won't see him until he checks it. I know the illness of that day.
Tomorrow morning, they will be angry. The next morning, the morning sun will rise, and all the garrison troops, standing tall on the warehouse rooftop, facing it directly. No one retreated. No one from the Japanese could attack at any moment. Everyone gripped the flagpole tightly, watching the bright national flag slowly rise. In the smoke-filled sky, howling fiercely in the wind. They want foreign observers watching from above, seeing the thousands of compatriots across the Suzhou River, seeing that the more ruthless Japanese invaders, seeing every inch of Chinese soldiers' land. They refused to yield, sworn never to retreat. The Chinese nation's unyielding shouts tear through the sky. That was the indomitable roar of the Chinese nation. Even the US military observers inside the concession were affected by this. Sweating like a sky and earth, his ferocity was deeply shaken. After a long while, Julie was left speechless. Amidst the thick smoke of gunpowder, the bright national flag slowly rose against the artillery fire. Regiment Commander Xi Jingyuan straightened his posture and solemnly exerted himself before the flag. His eyes were full of sincerity and resolve. The people on the south bank of the Suzhou River were already in tears. They all bowed deeply toward the warehouse. The unison shouted, "China will surely win." Breaking through the smoke of battle, the sound echoed through the clouds. It has become the loudest vow on this land of suffering. I am not worth you.
China will not perish! China will not perish! China has not been sorrowful.
But before the cheers faded, the roar of Japanese aircraft tore through the air fiercely. Under the calm sky, the shadow of death once again loomed. At the Sihang warehouse, the defenders instantly entered combat mode. They quickly organized a defense, and a platoon of soldiers charged up to the rooftop on the order. With flesh and blood, we support each other to the very end. The remaining soldiers quickly seized the fighting position. Standing on high alert, enemy planes dive low and hail dense bullets like a torrential rain, splashing countless stones against the rooftop wall. Several flag guards were killed on the spot by heavy gunfire. Blood stained the floorboards beneath their feet. Red, the defenders raised their guns and cannons. Fighting fiercely against the air, it can withstand the enemy's high-speed flying firepower. It was impossible to hit, and all they could do was watch helplessly as their comrades fell in a hail of bullets. Taking advantage of the brief moment when enemy planes temporarily flew away, the surviving soldiers risked their lives to rush onto the rooftops and carry sandbands. Use your body to work together with the sandband. Reinforce the flagpole, give it your all, and don't let the flag fall. But not long after, the enemy planes turned back and launched a new round of frenzied strafing fire. Another group of soldiers collapsed stiffly. Blood accumulated on the rooftop. At this critical moment, a veteran soldier remained calm, raising the rifle, aiming at the enemy plane in the sky. The moment he pulled the trigger, a precise shot hit the enemy aircraft's fuselage, causing black smoke to rise as they fled in panic. The people across the strait erupted in thunderous cheers. This shot showcased the might of Chinese soldiers and ignited hope among their compatriots. Enraged and humiliated, the Japanese soldiers unleashed their fury on the innocent. The civilians turned their guns. They wildly fired at civilians in Suzhou and the southern concession. Unarmed civilians fell one after another. Blood instantly stained red. Cries and screams echoed in the streets. One after another, the British concession authorities immediately lodged strong protests. But the Japanese were left speechless. They still swung their butcher knives at the flag-guarding soldiers. Amidst the flying bullets, the flagpole tilted violently again. A group of wounded soldiers gritted their teeth and endured intense pain. With flesh and blood, they desperately held onto the flagpole. Even though his whole body trembled, he never let go. What they uphold with their bodies is not just a flag, but the dignity of a nation. But the Japanese bullets were too dense, pouring down like a storm. The flag guards fell one after another. The hand gripping the flagpole gradually loosens. The bright flag slowly tilted. Finally, it fell heavily on the snowy slope. This tragic scene broke the hearts of countless compatriots across the strait. Tears flowed endlessly. Under continuous strong protests and pressure from the British side, Japanese aircraft were ultimately forced to return home. The national flag, inevitably soaked in blood, was once again raised by the surviving soldiers. Third, it proudly soared atop the rooftop of the Sihang warehouse. Even if it was riddled with bullet holes and stained with blood, it was still the brightest light on this land. But no one expected that the joy of this flag rising again had not yet faded. A special commissioner of the Nationalist Army risked his life to sneak into the warehouse, delivered orders from the Supreme Command tonight at midnight. The entire garrison immediately withdrew. It turned out, the highly anticipated Brussels meeting had long since ended hastily. Countries like the UK and US weighing pros and cons solely for their own interests. No country is truly willing to lend a helping hand. The moment of significance in this steadfast defense of aiding China, narrow with no cover. Every step forward on the bridge could lead you into the abyss of death. It could be the last step in life, and Commander Shi Jingyuan did not hesitate at all, the first to rush onto the icy bridge deck. Meanwhile, the Japanese troops on the opposite bank had already aimed countless gun barrels at this bridge. Bullets rained down like a torrential rain. They instantly pierced through the bridge deck, sending smoke and smoke flying. How many steps had just rushed out? Commander Shi. Unfortunately, his leg was shot and bleeding. The pain instantly soaked through the armory. It made his figure flicker. But he didn't stop walking. He gritted his teeth. He hoisted up the fallen soldier beside him with heavy bullets. He continued to dash toward the opposite bank, while Commander Shi let go of his wounds. The brothers turned and rushed back onto the bridge without hesitation, saving another barely clinging man. Brothers. The ruthless Japanese soldiers suddenly raised their heavy guns at this moment. They unleashed indiscriminate attacks on the narrow bridge deck. They fired bullets wildly, like the scythe of death, continuously harvesting the lives of the warriors. Commander Shi Jingyuan had already been hit by a tree bullet, covered in blood. His strength was on the verge of its limit. He used the last bit of strength in his body. He shouted at the brothers behind him.
Deciding to rescue all the deadly benefactors, the land assault team Qinghai should not return to the enemy. Don't be short on wells. 3 distances. All the soldiers. Your faster speed is too strong! The people behind us are all watching us! All of you be brave! Listen to my efforts! You're back!
Oh, shit!
Amid his shout, the remaining soldiers stepped on the fallen comrades. Blood staggered toward the opposite bank. That was not retreat, but a path to survival torn open with flesh and blood. They used their lives to show us that family and country are not just slogans, and in every unwavering determination. From watching from the sidelines to the nationwide awakening, the 800 heroes guarded more than just a warehouse, but also the backbone and hope of a nation. From a military perspective, this battle, perhaps it was a doomed defeat, but from the perspective of national spirit, it was a decisive victory over 800 heroes, sacrificing oneself. It broke the external prejudice against the Chinese military. Now, the land and rivers remain safe. The country is peaceful and the people are peaceful. That smoke-filled history is long gone. But the souls of the 800 heroes should never be forgotten. They built the Great Wall with flesh and blood, defending their homeland with their lives. Let us understand that today's peace is hard-won. The dignity of a nation must be protected by generations. Military preparedness must be self-reliant, remembering history, remembering the martyrs, passing on that indomitable spirit and patriotism, living up to our predecessors, the prosperous China won with blood. Let the backbone of the Chinese nation always stand tall and always stand high.